dedicated the award to the nation and to our institution. अब वो पल जिसका हम बेसब्री से इंतजार कर रहे थे, आइए सुनते हैं अपने चीफ गेस्ट मिस्टर सुमन बेरी साहब को। आपसे आग्रह है सर, आए मंच पे।
Dr. Kohli, thank you for reaching out to me. Dr. Kohli के साथ संबंध क्या 20-25 साल का है। I came from World Bank to head NCAR in 2001, and I was there for about a decade. And I think we may have met when you were first at the Power Finance Corporation. But it's impressive to see how somebody like yourself has remained active and dedicated to the nation. And as he mentioned, I mean, I returned from the US early this morning. It became quite late, but because of our past association and also because of the opportunity to address a distinguished group like this in a very important profession, I accepted his invitation since he kindly changed the order of the meeting. So thank you, Dr. Kohli, and let me say it is an honor and a pleasure to share a podium virtually as well as substantively with those who have received the Eminent Engineer Award. And I learned a lot about ICT just sitting here, but also distinguished guests and delegate engineers. So let me start by congratulating ECI for organizing this national conference on the role of high-tech support for sustainability and skill development. ECI's role in bringing awareness on the quality of education, training, high-tech skill development and certification of engineers is well recognized. I had not been aware till I came here about the fact that there wasn't an applicable legislation for engineers. And so when that crosses our desk, as it will, if it's going to be a cabinet note, I will certainly kind of look out for it. So my remarks will really be in 3 or 4 sections. One is high-tech support, and how it is that India is leading in high-tech. Second, sustainability, the point that was raised by one of the awardees, by Dr. Yadav, and also then finally about education and skill development. But let me make a point to begin with, that much of my awareness and knowledge of Naga Fellows, CSIR, comes from my distinguished colleague at NITI Aayog, Dr. D.K. Saraswat, who must be well known to many of you, Secretary, DRDO, and through him and in this role, I have had the opportunity to see not only, or to become aware not only of what has been described about the interface between the scientific and the commercial sector. Ashok Chunchunwala is a good friend, and I think he has been one of the awardees, and he has shown me around the campus at Chennai that he has created, but also of the very impressive and low-key, as it were, collection of engineers in government service. So visiting of course in Hyderabad or the National Institute in Chennai, etc., and to see the quality and the leading edge of science being undertaken in a very frugal, a very pioneering way was important to me. I don't need to go through all the areas where high-tech support has become a central feature of the Indian economy. And let's be clear, this goes back to decisions taken many years ago about creating an atomic energy commission or setting up the Institute of Technology out of a belief that it was India's right and destiny to be at the leading edge, even though there were important social issues of hunger and poverty to be solved. And we see the fruit of that today with information technology and telecommunication, high-tech digital transformation in India's financial sector, innovations in Indian railways, excellence in space, and what we've just heard, green energy. And underlying all of this, much more than I can understand, but all of you understand, is the work of skill, sometimes visible, sometimes less visible, engineers. So very much, as it were, where India is today is the outcome of the investment that is made at all levels in the engineering profession. I was interested to hear from Kohli that it may be the largest profession in the country at the moment. Let me just talk spend a minute or two on NITI Aayog and frontier technologies. And all of this is a reflection, as it should be, since I, as Vice Chairman, report to Honorable Prime Minister, of the deep belief that Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has in the transforming possibilities of technology, and as we have succeeded up to now, the need for us to remain at the forefront of new technologies. And it's hard, frankly, to keep up with him because he sees very clearly how technology has and can and needs to continue to transform India's development journey. And so we at NITI Aayog have created a Frontier Tech Hub, which has two specific areas enshrined in today's conference. First, to enable India's readiness to advance frontier tech innovation, actually as much at the state level as at the union level, but also championing India's human-centric approach worldwide by advancing the development and adoption of emerging technologies that benefit humanity and the environment. And here I want to make a point as an economist. So as AI has galloped along, there has been, of course, a great deal of concern about the ethics connected with AI and the regulation of AI. What engineers may be less aware of is that there is a very spirited debate in the United States, which actually is receiving that much more attention with the arrival of President Trump, about harnessing technology to serve the population. So there is, amongst economists, the concept of labor-saving technical change and labor-enhancing technical change. And the point is that it is up to each society to use the technology and shape the technology in a way that meets its particular needs. And so I would say that since India is the most populous country in the world, it is going to contribute to the global labor force. It has the wealth of talent that you in this room represent. For us to, as it were, not be passive in the way in which technology impacts on us, but to actively shape as a society through policy, through innovation, to shape how these technologies allow India to become a Viksit Bharat. This is, if you like, a whole of society challenge, and India, through its Frontier Tech initiative, aims to play a part in it. And as as the awardee indicated, this involves being aware of the larger ramifications, the ESG ramifications, the, if you like, the certainly the climate ramifications, the innovation, the employment ramifications of the work that engineers do. As you may be aware, I spent 4 years as the chief economist of Royal Dutch Shell, sitting in The Hague, and Shell is well known not only for its technical innovation, and let me say that while I was at Shell, it greatly expanded its lab in Bengaluru, and after Amsterdam, it is in Bangalore, much of the innovation of Shell takes place. The point I wanted to make was that in 2013, I was involved with the preparation of Shell's scenarios. They were called the New Lens scenarios. And it came shortly after the global financial crisis. And I would say, and it's a tribute to the scenario technique rather than straight line projection, that those scenarios, I think, picked up for the first time that technology and technological advance was not always an unmixed blessing. Until then, we had thought you could trust the technologists, but as we're seeing now in the pushback on social media, on also on AI, etc., you are the frontier of technology, that you have to be aware of the larger social consequences of technology, and that is an ethical responsibility as much as it is a professional responsibility. Let me finally talk about education, higher education, and how an economist sees the issue of quality and quality education. First, we tend rightly to focus on, as it were, the supply side of education, the ICTE, the accreditation of engineering colleges, higher level institutions like IIT, all of which are on the supply side. I don't think we do enough work on the demand side for engineers and how to bring demand and supply together. Many of you would have heard the comment by the CEO of NITI, Suman, that he had 40,000 positions that he was not able to fill. I think more broadly, and this is very much part of the national education policy, we have to be closer, I think, to the US position of lifetime learning. That basically, yes, you provide people with a foundation, but the US has a kind of a no-regret system of tertiary education. If you dropped out of high school, you can make that up. You can do university degrees on the side. You can go to a community college. And I think that while it is important for entities like the ECI to maintain standards, I think it's also important to, as it were, shape a system that allows engineers to retool themselves as the demands change. I would also make two final points. One is that all the glamour has been in electrical engineering, as far as I know. But when I look at, for example, China and what China has done with respect to the design of its cities, I mean, I think that to make sure that in the glamour stakes or whatever it is, that civil engineering come back to be the equal of chemical and electrical engineering, as a profession that people want to enter into, because I think that we're going to find, and we are finding in comparison with China, that for a nation that in the next 20 years intends to do what China did in the last 20 years, we are going to be massively short of civil and chemical engineers. A colleague of mine has told me that the World Bank estimates that $840 billion would be required for just urban investment in India's cities. And largely that is going to be the work of civil engineers, I think, rather than electrical or chemical engineers. And let me finally talk about this particular moment. As I just returned from the US, it was actually a personal trip, but inevitably one spoke to people who are very uncertain about what's going to happen to the US economy. I know that Kohli talked about, as it were, having standards and a code for engineers in India, and that's all correct. But let me also say that we may have missed an opportunity when the Soviet Union collapsed in not attracting scientists and engineers at that time. I do think that there is an important opportunity now to attract postdocs, to maybe even attract H-1B engineers back to India. This is not necessarily an activity for the ECI, but I think it's something where bodies like the ECI, maybe AICT, maybe PMO, should be thinking about where the gaps are and whether there are opportunities to repatriate at least those who hold OCI cards, and maybe others as well. So, for example, in the social sciences, in a very distinguished case, 2 professors at Yale had gone to Canada. So, just a thought that at this point. But I was here to indicate my respect for your profession, to indicate that you are central to the aspiration for a Viksit Bharat, that technology is to be harnessed in pursuit of larger goals, and that since many of you are here at the end of your careers, that where India is today is because of your hard work, and as represented by Dr. Kohli, your continuing commitment to public service, and I thank you for that. Thank you, Dr. Kohli.
Indeed, very well said, Suman Bery Saab. The scenarios, whether they are political, economic, geopolitical, wherever they are created, whenever they are created, the faculty of engineering remains at the core. You engineers have to deliver. So round of applause for yourselves, all the engineers. In Sundar